let's get real. This thing we call autism, uh, raising kids with autism, working with children with autism, it can be hard. There can be tension in the home. It can seem like there's always turmoil. There can be fear for the next meltdown. There's a lot of things that are really difficult. There can be conflicts in your marriage. Sometimes it seems like it's a never-ending situation. And sometimes there even feels like there's just no relief. I've heard that the stress that is on a family that has autism in the family can be that of a combat soldier. And I know that it's tough to rely on other people because ultimately they just can't understand some of the things we go through. Hi, my name is Kyle Jetsel, and I'm the father of 6. My 2 middle sons, Eric and Ricky, are diagnosed with autism. And we have found a way to remove all those things I just mentioned to you before. And we found a way to replace those things with joy and with happiness, and to find the joy and happiness in the day-to-day things we have to deal with. And ultimately, we have really, absolutely found a way to thrive. And I want to let you know that the secret to doing that is really no secret at all. I can remember quite a few years back entering my boss's office at one point, and we had a discussion about a partner. We were thinking about making some changes to the way we ran the business, and we knew that this partner probably wasn't going to be happy. And so as I talked to my boss, I said, we probably ought to prepare ourselves for some backlash from this partner. And he said to me at the time, he said, "You know what, Kyle, you're a pessimist." And truthfully, I didn't like that very much. So I said, "You know what, I'm not a pessimist. I just know this guy. I'm a realist." And he said, "That's what pessimists call themselves." Well, needless to say, it didn't really sit well with me because I didn't feel I was that way. And so I went and grabbed a book, and I have a copy of it over here. It's called Keys to Positive Thinking. And you can see it's a pretty small book, and I read it pretty quickly. And over the next few weeks, I kind of thought I had it figured out until I met with my boss again. And we had some more discussions, and again he said to me, "There you go again, Kyle, you're a pessimist." And I wasn't happy at all at this point. And I decided I'd already read the book, but why was he still claiming I was a pessimist? I mean, I'd read the book and I knew what to do. So I went back and I grabbed that book and I broke it down into 10 different sections. And each week I would focus on one specific section. The first week I focused on the first section of the book. I would wake up and look at my checklist and look at the things I wanted to focus on for that day. And throughout the day I would kind of pay attention to those things and really focus on that one component of the process. And week 2 I did the same thing, and so on through week 10. And after about 10 weeks, it was pretty obvious to a lot of people, including myself, that I was a pessimist. I like to think of myself as a realist, but honestly, I had changed in those 10 weeks. And my boss saw it, and a lot of people around me saw it. And so I want to tell you what a difference that was for me. Was the idea that I knew the information was one thing. The idea knowing what to do was one thing, but knowing how to do it and actually doing it was really the component I was missing. And 3 of those things that I think I really identified at that time was, one, you have to have motivation. And I was excited that my boss called me a pessimist twice, because certainly it gave me the motivation to change. The second was I needed a step-by-step plan. And again, thank goodness for the book. I mean, it showed me what to do for 10 straight weeks, and I was able to get those things and plan them out step by step. And the final thing was to act on that. And certainly over the next 10 weeks, I really focused on each component and acted towards my goal. When we found out not our first son, but our number 3 son, Eric, was when he was first diagnosed with autism, it was devastating to us. First of all, we didn't know what autism was. We just thought we had completely lost all ability to parent. He's our number 3 son, and our first 2 seemed to be doing pretty good. And he came along and was just entirely different. None of the things that we had tried to do with our first 2 and had success with had any bearing on Eric at all. He was already suffering meltdowns. There were some real severe things going on at about 4 years old. And so once we found out he was autistic, initially there was kind of a sigh of relief. Now we know what we've got in front of us. But as we moved forward, I really started to feel like, not my boy, right? And so I decided that I had a job, and my job was to fix him. So over the next period of months, I dove into it full force. I read every book I could find. I downloaded all kinds of information. I watched all kinds of videos. Anything and everything I could find on the subject of autism, I went through and I looked at and I tried to apply, and we put him in therapies. And over the next year and a half or so, my insane desire to fix him really started to cause problems in our family. And I can remember one specific event after about 18 months where I was just so ingrained in fixing him that I was letting other balls drop in our family, including my relationship with my wife. My relationship with my other kids was suffering. I just wanted so badly to fix Eric that all these things, it was causing a lot of turmoil in our home. And I remember my wife coming to me one night and she sat me down and she said, Kyle, and she used a criticism sandwich on me. I'll never forget it. She said, Kyle, I love you, but you're tearing our family apart with this. But I think we can do something. I think we can do something together to bring back the joy and the happiness and the love that we had in our home prior to us going down this terrible path. And so I said, well, what can we do? And she said, well, I think the time is now to stop trying to fix Eric. I don't think there's anything wrong with Eric. We don't need to try to fix him. What we need to do is try to fix our family. And she said to me point blank, you need to fix you. And I'll never forget that, how impactful it was for me. And thank goodness my wife loves me, and I know she has my best interest at heart. And at that point forward, we started moving in that direction, and the results were dramatic. The changes that were made in our family, and the happiness and the joy we started to look for and find moving forward became very evident. Now, if you want to know what we did to fix our family and what we did to bring back the happiness and the joy and really in our family to thrive as we went through this process, stay with me for the next video. We'll cover that in a little bit more detail. So come back soon, watch the next video, and let's start thriving together.